Okay, good morning everybody. It is 11 o'clock. Welcome to the Cabinet meeting. As usual, this is broadcast live via the County Council's website and archived so you can view it afterwards. As you can see, it's exciting because we're all here in person and officers will be, some will be here and some will be presenting virtually. We're also limiting the number of people here in the committee room, and as you can tell, we're all sensibly spread out. One of the Cabinet members, Ozzy O'Shea, is having to join us virtually. He's had an operation, so he has to stay indoors for a while. So although Ozzy can't move or second or vote on any items, I will ask Ozzy to speak on items which are within his portfolio. Can I also, while we're here, congratulate Neil O'Brien MP for Harbour and Obi Wigston, who's been appointed Parliamentary Under Secretary of State in MHCLG. And in my view, it's well deserved, and hopefully he'll continue to work with us as well as he's worked with us when he wasn't Parliamentary Under Secretary of State. Normal thing, microphones on, microphones off when speaking and not speaking. And we have apologies from Blake Payne. So the first item to deal with is the minutes. These are on 5 to 18, and I'll move that the minutes of the meeting held on the 20th of July 2021 are taken as read, confirmed and signed. Deborah?
I'll second that.
All agreed? Thank you very much. Urgent items, we have none. Declarations of interest in respect of any items on the agenda. I have, Pam has an interest. Pam?
Thank you, Chairman. I have an interest on item 5, as it could be a personal interest which could become biased following the Melton Mowbray Distributor Road report.
Thank you, Pam, and you'll leave the room when that item's on.
Oh.
I will also declare a disclosable pecuniary interest in item 7 on the agenda as a local property owner, and will leave the meeting while this item is considered. Anybody else? Deborah?
A non-pecuniary interest in item 11 as a member of Charnwood Borough Council.
Thank you, Deborah. Richard?
Beg your pardon, Chairman. Personal interest as a member of Charnwood Borough Council in item 11.
Thank you, Richard. So we've got those. Christine, are you Loughborough as well?
Yes, I'm Loughborough as well. Item 11.
So it's just the same as Deborah and Richard, isn't it? Okay, so the first item today is the medium-term financial strategy, 17 to 58. It provides us with an update on the 2021 revenue budget and capital programme monitoring position as at the end of July, and seeks approval to changes to the previously agreed 21-25 capital programme and approach to updating the MTFS for 2022 to 2026. The Scrutiny Commission considered this report last week, and its comments are attached to the order paper for this meeting, marked 4. Chris Tambini, Director of Corporate Resources, here to present the report, and then I'll go straight to Lee, who's the Cabinet Lead for Resources. So over to you, Chris.
Thank you, Leader. There is a lot in this report, so I'm only going to really pull out the key points. So I'll start with this year's budget. We are facing a fairly large overspend of about £12 million this year. And this is a result of higher demand and higher cost of adult social care services, principally home care. Hospitals are discharging greater numbers of people into our care and doing so fairly earlier than they previously did. And this is clearly having an impact on our budget, and is a key driver of the overspend, and it's clearly related to the impact of COVID on the NHS. There is a programme of work to address this issue, and we will be reporting back in the autumn. Having said that, we do expect this pressure will continue into the short and into the medium term. The other key pressure on this year's budget is special education needs, and I know Cabinet is very familiar with this issue. The in-year overspend is £9.4 million, and the cumulative deficit is now around £27 million. Again, we do have a programme to mitigate a lot of the impact of this overspend, but demands are increasing and numbers are increasing. I think the key date is going to be the spending review, where we will see whether the DfE has been successful in obtaining resources to address this, what is a national issue. And if I could just remind members that collectively across all county councils, the deficits now stand at £750 million, and within the next kind of 2 or 3 years, we expect that could approach £2 billion. So again, a big national issue as well as a big local issue. In terms of the overall county council's budget, we are talking to the local NHS about how we can mitigate some of the overspend, and the balance will be addressed by releasing reserves. So we will have a balanced budget overall this year. The next issue I'd like to pick up is the capital programme. We do have a large capital programme, and it is now approaching £540 million over 4 years. And this really reflects the kind of large population and housing growth in the county, and the impact in terms of major education and highways projects. As the report details, there are major cost pressures, and no doubt this hasn't been helped by kind of pressures in the supply chain, tight labour market and rising commodity prices. The report requests that Cabinet approve a revised capital programme which has added £35 million of resources, and that's principally on the MMDR, the kind of the Melton distributor roads, both north and east, and the south schemes. We do think that these pressures will continue, and we're going to be reviewing the capital programme over the autumn. So I am expecting kind of further bad news and further cost increases will be reported back to you, particularly when we refresh the MTFS. I think the final thing the report does is set out the MTFS planning process over the autumn and winter. This does follow kind of previous timetables and processes. There are no real changes there. I think given what I've said in terms of the pressures we're facing in the current year, and there are some others which I haven't highlighted, I think it is going to be a particularly kind of tough budget round, which we'll get into properly when we take the Cabinet through it in December.
Thank you, Chris. Lee?
Thank you, Leader. The Director has outlined the challenging position we all face. Over the autumn and early winter, we will have both the spending review and the local government financial settlement. Given the extent of government borrowing over the last year to support the economy and address the pandemic, there is little doubt that funding will be tight over the medium term, and that this will just add to the financial pressures that the Director has outlined. It's going to be a challenge, and to balance the budget, we will need to maximise efficiencies and contain social care expenditure. We will also need to continue to make the case for fair funding. Our MPs have now all been very supportive, and we hope that the latest report from the Onward think tank, which sets out now how a funding floor which would help authorities like Leicestershire, will gain traction with the new Secretary of State. Can I congratulate our Director for his published paper, Fair Funding, Levelling Up Local Government Finances. We will ensure that Michael Gove gets his copy from his newly appointed Secretary of State, Neil O'Brien, to which again we send huge congratulations on his appointment. Can I thank Chris for presenting the report, and I move the proposed recommendations on the order paper.
Thank you, Lee. Richard?
Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to second that. Much, of course, in what Chris and Lee have said is sadly familiar, but the optimistic note, I think, is struck at the end of Lee's remarks there, the reference to the Onward think tank report, and I share congratulations with Chris Tambidi as the author. And I do think as a county council we need to draw attention to and give all we can in the way of traction to that Onward think tank report. And also, of course, I share the congratulations to Neil on his appointment as the Junior Minister. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Richard. Deborah?
Thank you. I just wanted to point out, I know Chris has given you the issue with the SEND budget and the high needs budget, which is obviously a national problem, but I just wanted to point out that so far, I know it's early days, but the Children and Family Services on the local authority budget is actually underspent for the first time for several years. So I think that does need to be pointed out, and that's due to the hard work with really good leadership that we've got, the commitment of our staff to ensure that children are in the right place and get the right support they need. But I think it's wider than that. It's the whole department working together and also working really well with some of our wider partners. So even though it's a very small amount of money, it's the first time for several years. I really think that needs to be pointed out. Thank you.
Also, Chris, as we move forward, we need to make sure all members know about the massive overspends in adult social care, because as you say, we've got enough money this year from the so-called COVID reserve, but that'll only take us through till April. So it will have a massive effect on our budget for next year, and we need to start making sure all members understand the problems we've got in adult social care. They're not of our making, but it's just the way the system is. Earlier, people not wanting to go into homes at all, and of course they're more expensive to look after. Yes, Christine.
Yes, I'm afraid a lot of the overspend is down to my portfolio, which is adults, and I think Chris, the director, covered this very well. Of course, the residents aren't really aware of what we do in adults because it doesn't affect a lot of them. But I understand from what Chris has said, we'll come back in the autumn when any mitigating steps have been commenced, and I will be making comments regarding at the full council in September about what we're doing. And I know there's a briefing going to go to all members to explain how we're looking at it. Thank you.
Yeah, that'll be an excellent idea, Christine, to do that, because a lot of them won't understand, and the reserves are only able to be used the once. That's the problem. Okay, so it was moved by Lee and seconded by Richard. All in favour, please show. Thank you very much. Thanks, Chris. We're now moving on to the Melton Mowbray Distributor Road. So Pam Posnett will leave the room. While she's leaving the room, I'll introduce it. So the Melton Mowbray Distributor Road Southern section and the HIF grant, 59 to 64, and some supplementary pages. Have we got supplementary pages? No, there are no supplementary pages. That's written wrong. So Pam's gone. So this report concerns the latest position in regard to the HIF grant offered by Homes England in respect of the southern leg of the Melton Distributor Road. There was reference in the original Cabinet report to a supplementary report being produced. Aha, here we go. However, due to there being no information to share, it was not required, and that's why we haven't got it. The Cabinet has considered several reports on the matter in recent months, including a report in July, which set out in detail the financial implications arising from the MMDR Southern section. The Chief, John Sinnott, will introduce the report, and Lauren's here, who's Director of Law and Governance, and again, Chris is here to talk about money. So I think it's over to you, isn't it, Chief?
Thank you, Leader. Unfortunately, we're not able to recommend today approval of the HIF grant unconditionally. The recommendation is that the grant is accepted conditionally. And if I just run through those conditions quickly, we're awaiting, hopefully, a successful outcome of discussions with Homes England in regard to the legal agreement which has to be signed and the amount of grant. Those are constructive discussions which have been ongoing since the last Cabinet meeting, but it's not been possible to finalise them for today. We are also awaiting a decision from Melton Borough Council on the SPD, the supplementary planning document, which we learnt yesterday is due in the next couple of weeks. That's good. But we do need written assurances from the Borough Council about how they're going to pay to us the 1.75 million agreed last time, and their intended decisions on the two master plans for the two neighbourhoods. Again, we've had constructive discussions at officer level with the Borough Council, but in the context of a multi-million-pound scheme and the attendant financial risk to the County Council, it's right to ask for those assurances. The recommendation is on the order paper to accept the grant conditionally and put in place a system for achieving that once those conditions are met. Thank you.
Did you, Chris, or you, Lauren, want to add anything?
Nothing from me, thank you, Leader.
Yeah, nothing for me.
Okay, I'll formally move the recommendations, or I mean, it is a small step forward, and I'll go to Deborah next, so I'll move them. Deborah?
I'm happy to second the motion, and I hope the constructive conversations we've had so far at all levels will continue, and we'll be able to sign this all off very soon.
Yep, I think we're all in agreement with that. I have no other speakers, so moved by me, seconded by Deborah. All in favour? Thank you. Can somebody let Pam back in? Corporate Asset Investment Fund Annual Performance Report 2021 on pages 65 to 96. Scrutiny Commission considered the report last week and its comments are attached to the order paper for this meeting, March 6. Again, Chris will talk through it, and then I'm going to go to Lee. Chris?
Yeah, this is a far more positive report than the MTFS report. It relates to the performance of the CAFE over the period kind of 2021. Although clearly 2021 was a challenging year and a challenging trading environment, the fund continued to perform actually very well It's now valued at 187 million, and that's up from 171 the year before. And that was really driven from the fact we haven't invested in high street retail directly. So as a result of that, we did outperform the general property market. The report contains lots of positive developments. I'm just going to kind of single out a couple. The business parks at both Market Harbour and Coldville were complete, and they're now fully let. And a lot of those lettings actually took place at the peak of the pandemic. And as a result of that, income levels will kind of grow this year and will grow in later years as well. The report also details the pipeline of new projects that we've got in place, and there's just a couple I'll single out. The first one is the solar farm at Corn, and the other one is Airfield Farm Phase 3. So hopefully kind of we'll get those two underway. Cabinet are asked to note the report.
Yeah, the one at Coldville is very good. A friend of mine's a tenant, well, not a friend, somebody I know is a tenant in there. I went round the other week. It's excellent. Chris, Lee, you're doing this, aren't you?
Thanks, Nick. This really is a positive report. I think, as Chris said, can I first of all thank Scrutiny for the comments that are included in the order paper. The fund has really performed well in challenging circumstances. In 1920, the income of 4.6 million was received, and this year we expect the figure to rise to 6.5 million and head towards double figures over the next 3 years. Can I remind members that this income is used to support frontline services such as filling potholes, providing home care and supporting our vulnerable children. Richard, as support member, and I did visit one of the buildings last week, and we were there with the developer. The Armstrong building on the Loughborough University Science Park, the Access Group as the tenant are now in the building, and they are delighted with their new home. Having looked around it, I can see why it has won the Global Design Award up against buildings across the globe, including in Hong Kong. On top of that, it also brings us £1.6 million a year. As I said, the Cape is a real success story, a fund we have built up prudently over the last 6 years and without borrowing. Long may this continue. Can I just thank John Bennett for all his diligent hard work? I know he's online today. This kind of success story does not just happen, especially in today's economic climate. So can I thank Chris for presenting the report, and I'm very happy to move the proposed motions on the order paper. Thank you.
Thank you, Lee. Yeah, John is a very good hard-nosed property man. Richard?
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you. Yes, and I second that. I echo those thanks to John Bennett. Thank goodness for the CAIF, in my view. I know it's been questioned in the past by some colleagues, but my goodness, it's really doing us a very good service in producing an income stream. Lee mentioned our visit last Friday to the Armstrong building. Yes, I saw that during the construction phase. I've now been great to see it completed and go inside and see it tenanted. Our tenants are clearly very grateful for it, and it really has, the wow factor. So it's very impressive, and I'm glad I went and saw it for real rather than just reading about it. Thank you, Chairman.
Yeah, it's very good. I've been around it. So it's been moved by Lee and seconded by Richard. All in favour? Thank you. The next item is the Ashby Canal Maintenance Fund, and I've declared an interest in this, so I'll hand over to the Deputy Leader, Deborah Taylor.
Our next report seeks the Cabinet approval to provide funding for the Ashby Canal Association for maintenance of the section of the Ashby Canal, which is due to be transferred to the Association. Anne Carruthers, Director of Environment and Transport, is here to present the report, and then I will ask Ozzy O'Shea to speak as the Cabinet lead. Anne.
Thank you. Good morning. The County Council, along with DEFRA, is currently progressing the transfer of sections of the Ashby Canal to the Ashby Canal Association. As part of that transfer, the Council needs to agree financial arrangements to cover the ongoing maintenance with the Ashby Canal Association. This report seeks approval for those financial arrangements. In summary, we propose transferring £1.1 million to the Ashby Canal Association. This has been calculated based on the proportion of canal length being transferred and our current annual budgets for the Ashby Canal over a 20-year period. The funding is for future maintenance as well as to repair a current seepage issue that's ongoing and to provide stop gates on the canal, as the Canals and River Trust are currently requesting that. It's proposed that this funding would be released to the association based on their programme of works. Subject to Cabinet approval today, the detail of this drawdown of funding will be defined via a separate legal agreement with the association. The transfer of funding, just to emphasise for you, however, is still subject to parliamentary approval of the actual transfer going ahead. And that's transferring part of the Transport and Works Act order and associated land to the association. It's anticipated this will happen sometime over the next couple of months. The recommendations are as per the order paper. Thank you.
Thank you, Ozzy.
Thank you, Debbie. This is actually Blake's portfolio, but I totally support what Anna's just said. This money will be a great benefit to the Canal Trust and will ensure a lot of work that is done and improvement along the canal along Ashby, and I recommend Cabinet approve it. Just before I finish, Debbie, could you also note my, should I say, my concern? I'm also on Hinckley and Bosworth Borough Council, and I couldn't put my notice forward at the beginning. So if you can note on item 11 that I'm on Hinckley and Bosworth Borough Council also.
Thanks, Ozzy. That your declarations are noted, and thank you. Anyone else wish to speak? Okay, I'll move the motion on the order paper. Lee?
Yeah, happy to second.
All in favour? Thank you, that's approved. Just get the leader back in.
Thank you, Deborah. Number 8 is the interim Coldville Transport Strategy 103 to 142. Anne Carruthers is going to introduce it, then Ozzy will speak. So Anne, where is she? Oh, you're down there, Anne. Sorry, I couldn't see. I've got my glasses on because they're only for short distances. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. We've had a transport strategy for the Coldville area jointly agreed with the District Council for a number of years now. The main purpose of the strategy is to identify the transport priorities needed to support growth in the area and allow us to secure development contributions towards delivering those. The full strategy will ultimately comprise a number of documents that looks across a host of different transport modes. This interim transport strategy is required to update earlier work to ensure we're able to secure those appropriate developer contributions and to support delivery of the strategy, and in particular the A511 scheme that we're currently developing and promoting. The strategy will be delivered incrementally over time and will be funded through a mix of both public funding secured through government, usually via competitive funding bids, and, as I say, private sector contributions via development contributions. We have carried out a public engagement exercise on this interim strategy that was carried out for a month through July into the beginning of August. It was a very much light touch targeted engagement with the public councillors, parish councils and the wider community. We did actually only receive 4 responses to that. 3 of those were concerned that public transport, walking, cycling weren't adequately covered. However, they, as I've kind of alluded to in the report goes into more detail, will be covered by other aspects of the full strategy to be developed. And the other response was concerned about the level of growth in the area. The final interim strategy we're asking for approval today as set out in Appendix B of the report. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Anne. Ozzy's going to speak. Ozzy.
Thank you, Leader. The interim strategy provides a clear framework for putting these and other measures in place by setting out key areas we intend to explore in more detail during the next phase of work to develop the strategy, including proposals for improving the walking and cycling network, identify future opportunities for passenger transport, working with other parties to explore the potential of rail services in the area. The interim strategy also provides us with evidence needed to secure developer contributions and other possible government fundings to improve the town's network now and in the future, and I recommend it to Council.
Thank you. In the round, this is good news for North West because we've got the government money, there's private money, and there's our money. So it's pretty good, isn't it, Anne?
It is always challenging delivering big schemes such as the 511 and, you know, the other interventions that are required. But at the moment, you know, we have got a positive picture, and this will help us deliver and secure further funding towards that. So yeah, positive picture.
Good, I thought so. So I'm going to move it on the motion on the order paper because Ozzy can't. Deborah?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, no other speakers. So moved and seconded. Can I ask for a show of hands, please? Thank you. Nine, Leicester City Council draft local transport plan 4 and workplace parking levy consultations. This is on 143 to 152 and a supplementary pack, pages 3 to 8. So it concerns Leicester City's draft local transport plan, so-called LTP4, and the workplace parking levy. The original Cabinet report sets out our proposed response to their LTP, whilst the supplementary report details a revised response concerning the workplace parking levy, which has been updated following discussions with the District Council. We've had some very detailed quotes from Max Hunt. These are attached to the order paper marked 9, and you're going to introduce this, Ozzy. Then I will go, Anne, then I'll go to Ozzy to speak. Over to you, Anne.
Thank you. As you referred to, Chair, this report looks at both the main Cabinet report at item 9 and the supplementary report. The City Council has undertaken or is currently undertaking a consultation on their draft local transport plan. That's their 4th one. And alongside that, they have proposals to introduce a workplace parking levy. And this report sets out our proposed response to the City Council's consultation. If we look at the draft LTP first and take that, this sets out the transport approach the City are planning to take up to 2036, and it is very much focused on improving public transport, cycling, walking in and around the city by providing connected main transport corridors between key locations, including the railway station, and improving transport within local neighbourhoods, as well as managing demand for car use. The report sets out a broadly supportive response to the LTP4, acknowledging that many of the improvements will benefit county residents, such as the electric bus network proposed, which will extend into the county area. However, it does request that the City ensures that the proposals do not negatively impact on county highways. Details of the proposed response are included in paragraphs 23 to 36 of the report. If I move to the workplace parking levy element of the consultation, this is a charge on employers per employee parking space that they provide. I'm sure Cabinet is aware Nottingham has a system in place of workplace parking levy and is the only place in the country that currently operates this. The charge can either be paid by the employer or passed on to the employee. The funding raised is then hypothecated, i.e. it goes back to invest in transport improvements in that area. Cabinet will see that it's proposed the Council opposes the principle of the workplace parking levy and isn't supportive of the implementation on the grounds of potential impact on county residents, such as via displaced parking into county areas. I'd, however, refer you to the supplementary report provided. Very recent information from the City Council has led to a slightly amended proposed response, whereby the position is still one of opposition. However, that is to be reviewed following consideration of a further detailed business case that would come from the City Council into the workplace parking and evidencing the impacts and potential mitigation that they would propose for county as a result of the workplace parking scheme. The recommendations are therefore to respond to the City's LTP4 consultation as per paragraph 23 to 36 of the main report and as per paragraphs 14 to 17 of the supplementary report. Thank you, Leader.
Very good, Anne. Ozzy?
Thank you, Leader. I concur with Anne with what Anna's said. Leicestershire County Council work very closely with the City Council on transport and highway matters, and we will continue to do so. However, we have got concerns in relation to the displacement of parking around the county and the villages close to the city. So working forward with the city, we will look at and support their plans, but we do have those concerns which the city will recognise. And I propose that you accept the recommendations in the report, sir.
Thank you very much, Ozzy. I agree with you. So I'll move the motion on the order paper. Deborah?
I'm happy to second the motion. I just think, just echoing what Ozzy's words, we welcome a lot of the work that the city are doing, which will have benefits for the county residents, but we do need to keep a close eye on this, that we don't suffer from any, additional parking around our urban areas and our rural villages. So we need to keep a very close eye on this.
I agree. So everybody agrees that we need to keep an eye on it. No other speakers. All in favour, please show. Thank you very much. Item 10, exception to contract procedure rules. Urgent action taken by the Chief in relation to the appointment of a supplier to provide the publishment of legal traffic orders 153 to 156. This is for you, Anne, isn't it?
It is, Leader. This report informs of urgent action by the Chief Exec to allow a 6-month contract extension with Reach Publishing, which ensures our traffic regulation orders can continue to be published in the press. This extension will allow us to carry out a full procurement exercise for this function. The value of the contract extension is estimated at $500,000. As a highway authority, we are required by law to publish in the press all new traffic regulation orders. We have no option but to do that. The procurement exercise, given the value of the contract of the Commission, will take a number of months, and therefore to ensure we continue to meet a legal obligation to publish in the press, we have put in place this 6-month extension. The report is for Cabinet to note.
Thank you, Anne. Ozzy?
Nothing further to add other than I support the report.
Well, I know we've got to do it, Anne, but when you're publishing in the press, what press have we got that people read? I mean, nobody reads the Mercury anymore. I mean, where are you going to publish it?
Well, it is those papers, absolutely is. But as a sector, highway authorities have long lobbied government for no longer having to do this, because, the kind of cost you are, they are $1 million a year we're paying to advertise these things, when, as you say, chances are very few people actually look at them in the press anymore. It's just not really the way, most society gets its news these days. Unfortunately, it's still a legislative requirement.
Well, in my view, we should write to them and tell them more people read Facebook and Twitter and that stuff and read the blooming Mercury. I mean, if we're paying, I just think it's a waste of money, but if we're obliged to do it, I'll have to move the motion on the order paper. But we ought to write and tell them it's a waste of blooming money. Deborah?
I agree with you, that the information's on our website, it's on social media. I just don't see the point. But yeah, we should be pushing this a bit more, because it's a waste of money that we can spend on frontline services rather than putting stuff in print that no one reads. So I'll second the motion, but yeah, we need to take some action.
Would you mind, Deborah, if we add something to that effect, that we will extend it while we tender, but we also ought to acknowledge in the motion that we think it's a waste of money, and we should write to whoever's in charge of telling us that we do this, that we think it's a waste of money, because there's plenty of things we could spend $500,000 or £1 million on a year without publishing things in the blessed Mercury. So would you be okay to accept that?
Yeah, no, I'm happy to second that.
Okay. Is everybody happy if I add that bit to it? All in favour? There you go, Anne, a stern letter for you. Right, 11, response to Charnwood Borough Council's emerging new local plan. This is the pre-submission of the local plan 2021 to 2037. It's a consultation. It's on 157 to 218. Simon Lawrence, Head of Growth Services, will walk us through this report. So over to you, Simon.
Thank you, and good morning, Leader. As you've said, the purpose of the report is to set out for the County Council's view of the Cabinet, the report is setting out the County Council's view of the Chalmers local plan as part of their Regulation 19 consultation. The period of consultation closed last month and observations of the Council has been submitted, and the purpose of the report is therefore to seek the Cabinet's endorsement or otherwise of those submitted comments. Chalmers local plan sets out significant proposals within the borough, including the building of over 1,000 dwellings a year for the next 15 years. The plan seeks to focus this development towards existing sustainable locations, intensifying and extending existing urban and suburban areas and larger villages. The County Council acknowledges the scale of growth that Chalmers Borough Council has planned for and developed in recent decades, and with the long-term strategic policy steer expressed in the strategic growth plan. The in-principle support approach is based on helping Chalmers in enabling the continued progress towards an up-to-date adopted local plan for Chalmers, recognising the risk presented by the lack of 5-year land supply and consequential and significant speculative development. To this end, the County Council will seek main modifications to the local plan at the next stage to reflect the outcome of the transport work being undertaken and the resultant mitigation strategy, and to ensure that the adopted local plan provides as robust a policy basis as possible for seeking to secure developer contributions towards the delivery of the overall package of highway and transportation measures that will be required to mitigate the impacts of accommodating further growth in the Chalmers Borough. Officers have been in dialogue with Chalmers Borough for a sustained period to pin down the further transport work required to inform a mitigation package to support the proposed growth and the joint funding to do this. Chalmers have now confirmed that additional budget has been secured to partially fund this work. However, given these risks arise from the scale of growth across the housing market area and the agreed need to move to a different distribution strategy, it is considered appropriate that strategic road infrastructure requirements are considered in this context. Local plan review triggers will need to provide an opportunity to revisit this should national highways support not be forthcoming. Given this position, the recommendations are to support the comments set out in the report for submission to the Borough Council, and that existing collaboration needs to be formalised and include representation from national highways. The recommendations are as set out on the Green Order paper.
Thank you, Simon. Well, we're all in favour of growth. We're all in favour of 5-year land supplies, but we're not in favour of growth without infrastructure, as we've always said. Nobody's opposed to housing growth, but we're interested in building communities, not bloody great blocks of housing. So it's very, very important that we try and work with Chalmers to achieve this. You know, Section 106, Section 278, plus all the other stuff is absolutely imperative to build communities, not just blocks of houses off a boring old spine road. So I'll move the motion, and then I'm over to you, Peter.
Thank you, Leader. Yeah, and I'd like to thank officers for all their hard work in this scene, and the response is extremely comprehensive. So happy to second the motion on the order paper.
No other speakers. All in favour, please. Thank you. Thank you very much. Oh, another one the same here. Response to Hinckley and Bosworth's draft local plan, Reg 18. Consultation 219 to 280. Over to you, Simon.
Thank you, Leader. Another long report, and whilst in some respects the report follows a similar structure to the report responding to the Chalmers local plan, it should be noted that the Hinckley and Bosworth local plan is at an earlier, less developed stage. However, the purpose of the report is similar in that it's setting out for Cabinet's consideration officers' proposed responses to the Borough Council's Regulation 18 local plan consultation. It should be noted that it is a matter of some concern that the Borough Council has not published any transport assessment as part of the evidence base for this consultation at this stage. The highways and transport issues arising from accommodating further growth in the borough are expected to have significant impacts on the local road network and the strategic road network. Furthermore, as the Highway Authority at the County Council would expect to see at the point of local plan submission a clear understanding of the likely nature, scope, scale and deliverability of the transport measures required. Transport modelling takes time, and a formal partnership approach is needed to develop transport mitigation strategies. In the current climate, the financial risk to the County Council needs to be minimised. Therefore, a joint commitment to developing a funding strategy for how infrastructure will be funded in the Hinckley Bosworth local plan will be essential. Furthermore, the County Council wishes to enable continued progress towards an up-to-date adopted local plan, as we are for Charnwood, recognising the risk presented by the lack of a 5-year land supply. To achieve this, the County Council wishes to put in place stronger partnership working arrangements with Hinckley and Bosworth and others. To date, the level of involvement in partnership working desired by the County Council has not been achieved. It has been much more of an arm's length in nature. Therefore, the County Council wishes to see change to this moving forward and have in place closer partnership working arrangements which will benefit the County Council, the Borough Council and other partners in successfully achieving sustainable planned growth, as you've said, Leader. The County Council is of the view that to achieve this level of work, a delay is required in the Hinckley and Bosworth's local plan programme before progressing to Regulation 19. This position is of course reflected in the recommendations of the report, which are to support the submission of the comments set out in the report, to see an urgent establishment of the partnership approach to oversee the development of the plan, including national highways, the securing of substantial funds from the Borough Council to meet the cost of the work, to identify mitigation measures. Given the concerns, and more importantly, given the concerns regarding this Regulation 18 stage, that the Borough Council delay progressing to the Regulation 19 stage of their local plan. The recommendations are as set out on the Green Order paper.
Yeah, I'm happy to move the recommendations, but we do need to Charnwood, Hinckley Bosworth, that they do need to step up to the plate and work with us on this. I mean, I'm advised by councillors in Hinckley Bosworth that they're in a right mess over there. They've no local plan at present, and if they don't work with us to help to get the new one developed, it'll be even a bigger mess. I mean, I'm told, I mean, I'm not a Hinckley Bosworth member, but there's all manner of wayward applications out there because they have no local, well, they have one, but it's not sustainable. No 5-year land supply. In your opinion, is that true or not?
That's correct, Leader, which is why it's important that they move quickly to a more sustainable local plan, but that needs to have in place the right measures that satisfy the view of the County Council, and we're not convinced yet that they've done the work to do that.
Well, I know a leader of Hinckley and Bosworth Borough Council. I better give him a ring. I'll move it. Peter.
Thank you, Leader. Just before I go on to the paper, I'd like to just put on record my thanks to the many local parish councils in my division that have passed their own local neighbourhood development plans at a parish level. That Desford and Markfield particularly have both managed to get theirs through referendum recently, and I know a lot of hard work goes into those, so I want to put that on record to thank them for all the hard work they do there. Absolutely reiterating what you said, Leader, in terms of, you know, we all believe that we need growth, we need sustainable growth, we need growth that with the growth is the right infrastructure in place to support it. And unfortunately, without these sufficiently developed plans, you know, our areas are susceptible to unsustainable development. And unfortunately, at the moment, I think I'm right in saying, Simon might correct me if I'm wrong, that Hinckley and Bosworth has the most out of date in the whole county in terms of its local plan, and that clearly needs to be addressed. But as the paper says, you know, the considerations around transportation mitigation measures needs to be addressed before we can really progress on with that. So I know, speaking to officers here, there is a real keen willingness to work collaboratively with the Borough Council to ensure that those plans are worked up and that you know, a sufficiently robust plan is in place, so that, you know, residents of my division and many other divisions across Hinckley and Bosworth, you know, have that protection from this this plan. So Ozzy may wish to come in on this as the lead member, but I'm happy to, you know, second the recommendation on the order paper.
Ozzy, you're a Hinckley Bosworth member. Any experience?
Yes, I've took a right pasting over the last year or two in relation to the local plan. They do not have a 5-year housing supply, and I'm very concerned about the way that things are going. Developers are just coming in and plans are being passed because there are no 5-year supply without any infrastructure, and it's causing problems in the local area and across the borough. And I would urge the leaders and officers, the chief executive, to listen to what we've got to say, to work with us. Our officers here are dedicated and will work with officers at Hinckley and Bosworth. We need a joint working policy together to get infrastructure in place before before we really, crumble at the seams with the traffic, because to be honest with you, we can't sustain the amount of development we're taking without the infrastructure. So I fully support our officers working with Hinckley and Bosworth for the benefit of our local communities.
I think what some councillors tell me in Hinckley Bosworth, the problem is when you get small 20s, 30s, 40s, just applications just bodged onto villages, they don't get any infrastructure, and that's the problem with having no 5-year local plan. That they just have that sort of random development. Is that true, Ozzy?
That is true, and unfortunately, I've just taken 267 houses last year on one road, Markfield Road in the village, and we do not have any improvements to the traffic network or anything. The children are going to have to school in Groeby, not in the local community. Just haven't got the places. Unfortunately, they're granting these right all the while.
Yeah, I did write to Dr. Luke on this matter, and I have got a forthcoming meeting with him to discuss Hinckley and Bosworth's severe planning problems. So we'll have to see how things go. So I've moved the motion on the order paper. Peter seconded it. I can't see any other speakers, so all in favour, please show. Thank you. 13, public engagement principles. This is on 281 to 298. Pretty much says what it says on the tin. And we've got Tom Pennell here, who's the Assistant Chief Exec, to present. Tom, morning.
Yes, morning, Leader. The report seeks approval for new consultation and engagement principles for the Council, and also agreement that the Council becomes a signatory to the Consultation Institute's charter. The Council has a strong record of engaging with communities on changes to its strategies and services. The proposed new principles attached as Appendix A in the pack builds on this record, but seeks to make further improvements by taking account of lessons learned during the pandemic, when of course many activities have been moved online, and best practice from elsewhere, and also the views of members of the public and members of the Council. The key points in the principles document are summarised at paragraph 17. I'm not going to read through those, but paragraph 18 effectively summarises those points with the statement that all the Council's engagement activities should be inclusive, meaningful and transparent. Adoption of the principles today will set the context for quite a lot of consultation and engagement activity over the coming winter. The Council's strong record in this area has been recognised by the Consultation Institute, which is the UK's national body for public engagement, and becoming a signatory to the Charter, which is attached as Appendix B, will provide external validation of the Council's commitment to excellence in this area. Approval of the principles and of signing up to the Charter will be followed up with a training programme within the Council. The recommendations are as on the order paper, Leader.
Super. Pam?
Thank you, Chairman. As Thomas said, that certainly during the pandemic, we have learnt a lot about consultations and how the services can be delivered differently, and about how to approach the public consultations can be improved. Changes to the Council strategies and service delivery are now being developed at pace in all departments, and gathering insight from members of the public is a crucial part of ensuring that the Council makes the best decisions for the future. As a Council, we're committed to high standards of public involvement in decision making, but there remain some challenges to overcome. It's particularly important that the approach to consultation and engagement is inclusive, and that our digital first approach is complemented by other methods for those who are digitally excluded. It is important that the Council understands and involves the seldom heard communities who have a stake in the work that the Council does. The Council also wants to ensure it's consistently reviewing the number and quality of responses to consultation and engagement work to reassure decision makers that the responses are statistically valid and reflect the views of residents. Over the winter season, there are to be 9 consultation and engagement activities. These provide a further opportunity to hear residents' thoughts on some of the Council's key initiatives, such as the Net Zero campaign and the MTFS, and areas that have been highlighted through the pandemic, such as the role of carers. It will also be an opportunity to further test, refine and improve the approach to consultation and engagement. The department has worked really hard to get all this together, and to be able to sign the charter will be an achievement for us. And I have pleasure in moving this motion.
Sounds good to me, Pam, because some people are very hard to reach. You know, you've got the elders that aren't digitally aware, and then you've got the young people that don't read the sort of stuff you put out, Tom. So I'm going to Louise now.
Thank you, Leader. I echo everything that Pam said. Consultation is really important in framing all our strategies and plans, and I would encourage all residents to take the opportunity, and I think we need to do more perhaps to show where we have taken those views of residents and put them forward, because we do take these really seriously. Thanks. Second the motion.
Very good points indeed. No other speakers. All in favour. Moved by Pam, seconded by Louise. Thank you, Tom. 14, Leicestershire school term time patterns for autumn 2022 to summer 2027. Pages 299 to 330. Says what it is on the 10. We've got Jane Moore is dialing in. Jane Moore's the Director of Children and Families. Are you there, Jane?
I am, thank you, Leader.
Are you putting your camera on, Jane? Very good, looking glamorous. You're next.
Thank you, Leader. So the report in front of you is to advise of the outcome of the consultation of the preferred Leicestershire school term time pattern that applies from 22 to 27. Just by way of background, the local authority is required and responsible for setting the school term time dates for all of our community voluntary controlled and community special schools. And it's good practice for us to be consulting with parents and other interested parties to take a view of all of the potential options. The length of the school day, though, does remain the responsibility of each of the school's governing bodies. So just in terms of the consultation process, an 8-week public consultation was undertaken. It began on the 24th of May and went on until the middle of July. We put forward 3 proposals, one which was to maintain the existing pattern, that's proposal 1. Proposal 2 was around aligning the autumn and spring breaks with most other local authorities. And proposal 3 was a mixture of proposals 1 and 2 and was really set out to achieve a more balanced term time pattern. In terms of the consultation reports, we've attached the summary of the consultation results in Appendix B. We did receive a total of 12,467 responses, which was a really positive number of responses. And the majority of responses, so 69% of the responses, were in favour of proposal 1. The consultation did also receive over just under 500 pages of comments that again predominantly favoured proposal 1. And just for Cabinet to note, Leicester City Council officers have confirmed too that they saw an overwhelming demand for proposal 1. So I'll move to the recommendations as set out on the order paper. Thank you.
Thank you, Jane. Deborah?
Thank you. Jane's given you a really clean outline of the consultation. I think this is a really good example of how consultation can work with the amount of responses that we got, and with the City Council running their consultation at the same time. I think they had about 8,000 or 9,000 responses to theirs. So we're listening to the parents out there, parents and carers, and this is what they want to remain, the current pattern they have. So we're very happy to go with what they want. So I'm very happy to move the motion on the order paper.
Excellent. Christine?
Yeah, I'm happy to second, and I've got nothing more to say. We've listened to what the parents wanted, and that's what we should probably go with. Thank you. Moved
and seconded. All in favour? Thank you. While you're online, Jane, can I thank you for your good work you did yesterday? I thought your presentation to Neil O'Brien was excellent, very good indeed. And I did say to Deborah, it's a shame she couldn't be there, but as she knows, she was at a funeral, but I thought you handled it fantastically well. So very good, thank you. Next one is 15, Leicestershire and Rutland Safeguarding Children Board Partnership Annual Report 2020 to 2021, 331 to 360. Jane's doing it again, and then I'm going to you, Deborah. Jane?
Yeah, thank you, Leader. So the report is bringing to you your attention, the annual report for the Leicestershire and Rutland Safeguarding Children's Partnership, both for consultation and for comment. Again, by way of background, the multi-agency safeguarding arrangements for Leicestershire and Rutland were published back in June 2019, and the new arrangements commenced in September 2019. The Safeguarding Children's Partnership does share some operational arrangements with the Leicestershire and Rutland Safeguarding Adults Board, and some of the partnership structures are also shared with the Leicester City Safeguarding Children's Partnership Board. So the annual report is setting out an assessment of the impact of the work that's been undertaken over the 2021 period, and specifically evaluates the performance against the priorities that were set out in the business plan. The report does include an independent scrutiny assessment on the progress of the work from our independent advisor to the partnership. So the report primarily outlines the learning, assurance, training and improvement activity of the partners, and it has particularly looked at our response to the difficult circumstances of the pandemic and the impact that's had on safeguarding children. There are a number of key messages in the report around how partners have worked well together to safeguard children, that there is a need for continued work to really hear the voice of children and young people and their experiences in safeguarding. And you'll note that there's a specific emphasis around safeguarding babies, and mental health of young people are notable areas where we need to improve safeguarding as a result of the pandemic. And then there are some recommendations as well around how we can work more closely with our partners within the adult safeguarding arena as well. So I'll move to the recommendations on the order paper to note and comment the report. Thank you.
Excellent. Deborah?
Thank you. This is still sort of a fairly early new partnership under the new Working Together 2018. So it's starting to find its feet now, which I'm really pleased about. And just another point to note, I think, which is really important, that the independent scrutiny advisor to the partnership, Kay White-Bell, was originally chairing the board, and I think there was concern that how can she scrutinise and chair at the same time. So I'm really pleased to see that the partners have now decided to take on the rotating of chairs, and Kay will truly just be scrutinising the work of the partnership. So for me, that's extremely important to ensure that the partnership's effective and safeguarding children. I think you'll see we've obviously been through a difficult 12 months with the COVID, but the partnership has worked incredibly hard, and I think we should thank all our partners that we work with to ensure that that's happened. And just to point to note, on page 342 of the pack, on page 6 of the actual report, that highlights some of the good work that's been undertaken this week, and also shows you this year, and also shows you the impact for families there. So I'm very happy to move the motion on the order paper.
Good. Christine?
I'm happy to second it. I've got no comments. Thank you.
No other speakers? All in favour? Thank you, Jane. 16 is the Leicestershire and Rutland Safeguarding Adult Board Annual Report 2020 to 2021, 361 to 378. We should have Fran Pearson, the independent chair of the board, with us virtually, and she's going to present the report. So we'll just wait till Fran comes online.
I'm hoping I'm online already, Leader.
Okay. Did you want to put your picture on, Fran, or not?
Oh,
it's only for people that log in. There you go, Fran. Okay, over to you, Fran, then I'll call Christine. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Leader. I think it's really helpful to follow Jane Moore's presentation around the Children's Partnership. As Jane said, it's been an unprecedented year, and my introduction to the Adults Report sets that out. We've also worked much more closely over the last 12 months with the Children's Safeguarding Partnership. One area we're doing some work on is transition, which is incredibly important. And I think out of the pandemic and during the last 12 months, things have started to happen in terms of working more jointly that mean I'm in a really strong position to give you the assurance you need that it is an effective partnership. So the beginnings of some work with the Children's Partnership, the board working much more effectively, meeting jointly with the City Board, but with a continued focus on place, which I know you'll want to be reassured about. And I think finally, the report sets out the kind of areas that we have concerns around as partnerships. It's strong working, but we're particularly troubled about people who've been hidden from view in plain sight, is how the introduction describes it, as a result of the pandemic. And we have been doing a lot of work around adults with learning disabilities over the last 12 months. That work continues. Our scrutiny, our assurance, our partnership working around those people goes on, but there is still a lot of work to do. I wanted to thank the statutory partners to the board. Jane Moore talked about, and indeed your lead member talked about, their enhanced role. I'm really indebted to the Clinical Commissioning Group, to the police, and to John Wilson as the statutory holder of the adults role from county, to the steer they give to partnership working. And actually my role is not dissimilar to that of the independent scrutineer around children. I also wanted to thank Councillor Mrs Radford for her faithful attendance, good questions, and ongoing support and challenge to the partnership. So we are facing a really difficult winter, and I wanted to close by saying that it links to my points around hidden harm. We have tired professionals, high demand that's been at a fairly consistently high level for 18 months now. And I think one of our concerns is that however good partnership working is, professionals who want to come to work and do their very best job keeping adults safe are now going into this period very tired. And we know that when people are exhausted and their resilience is low, that unfortunately is when things can go wrong. So we're trying our very hardest to be supportive. So I'll stop there and see if and hand over to the lead, to Mrs Radford, or the lead member to move the report. Thank you.
Thanks, Fran. Christine?
Yes, I'd like to move the report, and just a couple of comments to say thank Fran for all her work. And as she said, that we're working well with the children, especially through the transition period. And as like Deborah said, I'd like to thank the partners that we've worked so well together during the pandemic, and thank them and thank everybody for all the support, because it's not been a very easy time, you know, and we know it's not going to be easy for the next few months. So just like to thank everybody.
Very good. Maybe we could add and thank Fran for her good work to your recommendation, could we, Christine?
Yeah, we can. Sorry, I thought I covered everybody, but yes, I'll mention Fran's name especially then, and John for all his support he's been giving me. Thank you.
Lots of people. Deborah, you're next.
Very happy to second the motion.
Very good. No other speakers. All in favour? Thank you. Thank you, Fran. Excellent work. 17 in East Midlands Freeport. More urgent action by the Chief. Tom's going to introduce it. Over to you, Tom.
Yes, thank you again, Leader. The report provides an update on the latest position with establishing a free port, which includes land in Leicestershire at and adjoining East Midlands Airport, alongside sites in Derbyshire and Nottinghamshire. The creation of a free port, and this would be the only inland free port in the UK, has the potential to provide a significant boost to the local and regional economy. In June, you received a report which noted the latest position at that time, including the establishment of an interim board, and which the leader of the council is a member of, and that the council had assumed the role of lead authority and accountable body for the free port. Since then, the focus of work has been on developing and submitting an outline business case to meet the government's deadline of last Friday. That submission took place following approval by the Interim Freeport Board, and Cabinet is recommended to note the urgent action taken by the Chief Executive under delegated authority to support that submission. The OBC includes analysis that the Freeport will contribute around £8.4 billion to the East Midlands economy over the next 30 years, alongside the potential to create and support 55,000 jobs. The next stage of the process is to prepare and submit a full business case by mid-December. Like the OBC, that will be a substantial piece of work, and as lead authority, the council is putting in place the right capacity, knowledge and skills to support the submission of a strong and robust case. Cabinet is recommended to authorise the Chief Executive, following consultation with the leader, to submit the FBC to meet the government's deadline in December, and also to enter into governance and other requirements required to progress the Freeport designation. As lead authority and accountable body, there are significant resource implications for the council, and these are set out in paragraphs 11 to 15. If I can just summarise that very briefly, the council has provided initial funding to support development of the proposal, and provisional agreement has been reached that these costs will be recovered by the council by having first call on retained business rates as activity at the Freeport site starts to pick up following designation. In addition, the need for investment in transport and green infrastructure in the county to support the sites will be significant, and paragraphs 16 and 17 explain how the retained business rates are expected to make a significant contribution to those costs in a way that doesn't negatively impact on the business rates tax base for the council and for other local authorities. The recommendations are as on the order paper.
I'm happy to move the motion on the order paper. We've worked very, very hard on this, and so is a guy called Marcus who's been employed by Ernst & Young, and I sent him some congratulations and thanked him for his hard work, and he actually replied to me saying to thank officers here who've worked with him. He was actually quite effusive about how helpful we've been and how good the work that officers here have done. It won't just be the chief, although he's done a lot of it. So if you can pass that on, Tom, that he was as happy with the work that we'd done to help him as I was to congratulate him for the work he had done. And as you say, if you look down the stuff, at least we get the money back in time. But I think it's been pretty prestigious for us to work on this. You know, the government have thrown civil servants time at this. It's been sometimes, as I say to the chief, like wading through treacle, but we are there now, and let's just hope it gets ratified and we do get it. So I'm happy to move it. And Peter has attended some of these things for me, but I've been unable to attend, so he'll probably be happy as well.
Yeah, just to reiterate that, Leader. Obviously the economic benefits, as outlined in the paper, are significant, and particularly in the inward investment for the future. So, just to reiterate what you say in terms of the positive benefits for the people of the region and Leicestershire. And again, I'd like to reiterate your thanks to the Chief Executive and his department for all the work that's gone into this, because, as someone that's coming into this quite new, it was quite frustrating to see a lot of the challenges that were in place on it. But, a lot of work's gone in behind the scenes and working with partners to ensure that we get the outline business case over the line. So happy to second the recommendation on the order paper.
Yeah, going forward, this, if we get it right, this will be a really shining example nationally of public-private working practices. So I've moved it. No other speakers. Peter seconded it. All in favour? Thank you, Tom. Items 18, items referred from overview and scrutiny, there are none. 19, any urgent items, there are none. So that concludes the meeting. Thank you very much for your attendance.